This week's episode of the Android Apps Weekly Show is brought to you by MusicGrid, Music Organizer Player. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Joe Hindy, the Android Authority App Guy, and welcome back to the Android Apps Weekly Show. This is episode 111. Let's get right into it. Adobe Lightroom Mobile received a fun update this last week. Adobe has announced that the application will no longer require an Adobe Creative Cloud account in order to function. This really opens up the mobile app for serious photographers, although you'll still likely need the desktop applications to maximize use. The latest victim in the in-app purchases and kids games problem is Kanye West, who blew up on Twitter after his kid spent a bunch of money on an iPad game. It shall go down in history as one of the few times that most people actually agreed with Kanye West. A new malware called Ghost Push has been discovered in a number of applications, including some in the Google Play Store. The malware forces root access and then proceeds to do bad things as expected. If you think you may be affected, there's an application to fix it called Ghost Push Trojan Killer in the Google Play Store right now. Google Play Music appears to still be running its best of promotion, and now the list of free best of albums has rotated to include artists such as Europe, Alice Cooper, Miles Davis, and more. You can head over to Google Play Music to check out the new collection and pick yourself up some free music. Do keep in mind that this is likely region restricted, so you may or may not be able to get them. We'll also have that link for you in the video description below. Waze released a report earlier this week that rated how well the driving experiences were around the world. They voted the Netherlands, Latvia, and the United States tied with Sweden in the top three, with El Salvador, Guatemala, and Venezuela being the three worst due to the frequency and severity of traffic jams. For even more Android apps and games news, don't forget to check out this week's newsletter, which is linked in the video description below. There we have a complete roundup of all the happenings in the app world this week, including the stuff we didn't have time for here. If you want, you can also sign up for it with your email address, and we'll send it to you every single Friday. While you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to our Twitch channel. We haven't played in a bit, but we do have plans to put some games up on there soon. Check out our profile and hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out. Okay, folks, let's take a look at the apps and games that made a big splash this week. As usual, if you want to check any of these apps and games out, you can find those links in the video description below. Contrast is a new atmospheric adventure game released exclusively for NVIDIA Shield devices. It's an action platformer where you play as a girl who can seamlessly transition between being a real person and her own shadow. You play through the game transitioning between the two to overcome obstacles and progress in the story. It's kind of like a 3D Limbo, but with a better storyline, better graphics, and slightly more complex puzzles. The price tag is a bit exorbitant, but it seems like a legit game. Cloud Chasers is a new game that falls into the category of survival adventure. You play as a girl and her father as you traverse a dangerous steampunk desert in search of a better life. You'll have to manage their food and health much like you did in Oregon Trail. You'll also have a glider that can be used for various purposes. The graphics are pretty nifty and the concept is definitely fun because the world is randomly generated and there's some other fun elements. It also touches on the topic of immigration. There are also no in-app purchases. Wonderwall is a new wallpaper application that brings something a little bit different. The app is awash in landscape and nature photography that you can use as wallpaper images for your device. Each day they add a new hand-selected wallpaper to add to the collection. All of this is wrapped up in material design, which makes it easy enough to wander around and search through. It also comes with auto set that lets the application set the wallpapers for you, and you can even submit your own photography. It's also totally free with no in-app purchases. Pocket Programming is a newer application that aims to help absolute beginners get into the world of code. Unlike most, there is no actual coding in this application, but rather a set of tutorials and lessons that explains what the code does, how it works, and the various verbiage used in coding and what those words mean. It's intended as an intermediary step between not knowing anything at all about code and your first Hello World application. It's $3 with no in-app purchases and features a lesson a day for 4 weeks. We first saw Minion's Paradise back at E3 and we were told it was going to be released over the summer. There were some delays, but now the game is out on the Google Play Store. This is a resource builder game where you must create a paradise for the minions and of course all of the villains. It's surprisingly in-depth as you have almost complete control over everything that happens in your paradise, and the game comes with plenty of goofy antics from the movie. There are in-app purchases, but if you can get past them, this is a fun little game. This week's Android Apps Weekly Show is sponsored by MusicGrid, Music Organizer Player. This app's claim to fame is its unique grid system that lays out all of your music folders and playlists in a grid format. From there, you can freely reorganize, add, edit, and otherwise engage with your music. You can combine playlists, create new ones, and rapidly move songs from one place to another until they're all where you want them to be. The application is all wrapped up in material design, which is always a plus. MusicGrid also features some of the more standard music stuff like a tag editor, album art, an equalizer, crossfade playback, and a whole lot more. There is even integration with Google Search for icons, album art, and lyrics to find those easily. It's totally free to use, so so check it out and show your support for the Android Apps Weekly show. Once again, I'm Joe Hindy, the Android Authority app guy. While you're here, why not subscribe to the Android Authority YouTube channel? If you're hanging out for a minute, we have a couple of awesome videos for you to watch right over there, and they're also linked in the video description below for you folks on mobile. Finally, don't forget to check out the written companion, which is in the video description below, and don't forget to subscribe to our Twitch channel and check out our newsletter. As always, thanks for watching, everybody, and have a wonderful weekend.